Many parishes have a St. Vincent de Paul Society, comprised of members who pray together and then pray individually, but also who together work tirelessly to promote the needs of those who are poor and destitute, who satisfy those needs by helping them to budget as well as to find a particular job or position that might very well help sustain them personally and as a family. The St. Vincent de Paul Society does so very many things to make sure that those who are poor are not overlooked, but instead are looked at with love. Now, even though the society is named after St. Vincent de Paul, he did not found the organization. It's named in honor of him because of his own particular love for the poor. He grew up incredibly poor, indigent, in fact. And he and his family sought to come out of those circumstances. In fact, actually, it was, in some senses, his motivation for entering into the priesthood. Because at the time, those who were priests were well looked after and had financial stability. And he was hoping to help his family out with that. But something remarkable happened. He began to spend his life with those who were elite. And because of his wit and charm and his intelligence, he was very much liked and his society very much sought after. But he began to become proud. And he began to judge his very humble beginnings. In fact, actually, he even began to shun his family. There came a point several years later where he was captured by pirates, sold into slavery in Tunis, and enslaved for 2 years. And he prayed to God that should he be freed from this slavery and from this cruelty that he was experiencing, that he would thereafter dedicate and give his life to the poor. God answered his prayer, and Vincent de Paul fulfilled his promise. He began an order of priests called the Vincentians, and he ministered to the poor, creating food lines. In a sense, really the very beginnings of our modern-day soup kitchens. He created orphanages and hospitals. In fact, no one was beyond his mercy. No one was beyond his charity. No one was beyond his love. In fact, even when there were children born out of wedlock and left on the steps of the chapel, he would take them and would love them and would seek someone to raise them. And when others looked down upon that child because that child had been born out of wedlock, St. Vincent de Paul castigated them and said that this is still a child of God and deserves love. Having been abandoned by its mother and certainly neglected by its father, we should not abandon or neglect this child. No one was beyond the mercy and charity of Vincent de Paul. And near the end of his life, when he was speaking with the Queen of Austria, he wondered if he had done enough for God. And she said to him, "Monsieur Vincent, you have built hospitals and orphanages. You have cared for the sick and the poor. You have fed them, and you have prayed for them. You have defended the orphan and the widow. What else could you have done?" And the saint replied very simply, "More." Saints in the making, you and I can do the same. There is always room for us, you and me, to love more, to be more, to do more for the glory of God. And when you and I do that more, be that more, love that more. We're making space for grace.